Thank you for joining us for a quick guide to gluten-free handling sponsored by Udi's Gluten-Free Foods. Nearly 25 million Americans are eating gluten-free, and the number's on the rise. For those affected by celiac disease or gluten intolerance, it's important to understand that cross-contamination can negatively affect their health and therefore their experience at your restaurant. So we wanted to show you 3 simple steps to protect the health and safety of those individuals eating gluten-free for medical reason, not just choice. We now introduce gluten-free expert and author, Chef Rob Landolfi, with gluten-free handling tips.
Hi, I'm Rob Landolfi, gluten-free chef, author, and manager of culinary development with the University of Connecticut. Whether you work in a school, a hospital, or own your own restaurant, I want to show you how simple it is to offer gluten-free safely in your establishment. But first, how about a quiz? Gluten is a protein found in which 3 grains? Do you know which ones they are? Let me ask you another question. If I had fresh cut French fries in front of me, and I fried them in a fry-olator that I used to fry onion rings or chicken parmesan, would those French fries still be gluten-free? And my third question is, out of the list of items, which ones do you think contain gluten? Maltodextrin, natural flavoring, spices, caramel coloring, none of the above, or all of the above? These are the questions on the quiz, and in a little while, we'll share with you the answers. Gluten is the protein that helps bind baked goods, such as breads, crackers, and even cereals. And it's found in 3 different grains: wheat, barley, and rye, and oftentimes oats because of cross-contamination. So when it comes to gluten-free handling in a food service establishment, you can either be good, you can be better, or you can be the best. I want to share 3 steps with you that'll make your gluten-free kitchen glow when it comes to offering customers gluten-free cuisine. The first one is separate mentality. Well, what that means is looking at all the ingredients you use when it comes to preparing a recipe. Are all those ingredients in fact gluten-free? If you're not sure, I strongly suggest you call the manufacturer and ask them, because the last thing you want is a mistake. 2 is clean and sanitize. Okay, what that means is, do you have gloves? Do you offer different cutting boards? One color for a gluten-free station, one color for a non-gluten-free station. Do you have designated fryolators for frying French fries or gluten-free items? That is what we call clean and sanitize. You even have to have different utensils, different pans. What this will do is this will help you in your kitchen to make sure that you maintain your gluten-free program. And what's the third? The third is staff education and awareness. How often do you train your staff? Ask yourself that. Do you train them on a daily basis, a weekly basis, monthly basis? I strongly suggest you do it on a daily basis, especially because we're in food service and there's a lot of turnover. What you're going to find is by doing a gluten-free menu, that'll ensure that your kitchen knows what they're doing, and it'll ensure that your front of the house staff knows what they're doing when they're answering questions for your customers. So what we have here is our perfect deli setup. This is our gluten-free area. Again, you'll notice all the red utensils, which means it's designated our gluten-free station. So what we want to do first is, again, parchment paper. That's going to be your best friend. Okay, we're going to grab our gluten-free bread and we're going to place it right on our parchment paper. Then what we're going to do is we have to use separate deli meats and toppings. You can't use the same ones that you're using on your deli bar. So right down here in the refrigerator, I have backups, which are used, again, only for gluten-free. Our turkey's gluten-free, our cheese is gluten-free, and of course our onions, lettuce, peppers, and tomatoes are naturally gluten-free. So what we're going to do first, we're going to take our turkey, place it right on our sandwich, our slice of cheese, some peppers, some onions, tomatoes, and some lettuce. And then what we have here, again, designated mayonnaise, mustard, things of that nature. You want doubles of everything. Again, only used for the gluten-free station. I'm going to place that right on top. Grab my red-handled knife, which is used for gluten-free. And straight to the customer. What you might find is breakfast sandwiches might be one of your biggest hits. The only problem is you can't cook those breakfast sandwiches on the same flat top that you're doing your wheat roll, your bacon, or your eggs. It's all going to be cross-contaminated. So what you have to do is when an order comes into the kitchen, be ready with a saute pan for the gluten-free option. So what I'm doing here is I'm just spraying it with a little bit of food release. And I'm just going to crack my eggs right in. So again, I take my parchment paper, I place it on my cutting board. I grab my Udi's gluten-free bagel, and I place it right on my parchment paper. Remember, if you're toasting the bagel, make sure you use a separate toaster that wasn't used for any wheat-based products. I then take my egg, and I place it right on my bagel. I have some bacon here that I did earlier. What I suggest is, again, don't do it on the same flat top. You can either do it in a separate fry pan or in the oven. We'll place our bacon on using our separate knife and putting it on a different shaped plate. This way our customer is guaranteed that they receive the gluten-free option. We're now going to do our gluten-free pizza. Again, you notice I'm in our gluten-free area, our dedicated area. Here's our pan that we already put our foil on, so we're ready to go. I'm going to begin by using Udi's gluten-free crust. I'm going to place the crust right on our pan. Then I want to grab our ingredients. Again, gluten-free sauce. I'll explain that in a second. Cheese, which we're using dairy-free for those who have dairy allergies, or if you wanted to, you could also offer mozzarella, which is a dairy option. And what we want to do is we want to begin with our sauce. What's very important though is we don't want to use the sauce that's used for regular pizzas. And the reason we don't want to is because as soon as the ladle goes in and it spreads on the pizza, we have cross-contamination. So again, labeled with a big GF for gluten-free. And again, we're using a dairy-free cheese, and we have the ingredients here. So if any of our customers have any questions, we're able to answer it competently. What we're going to do is we're going to begin with a little bit of sauce. You just want to spread that right on your crust. Then we're going to go with some sausage. And again, we made sure by reading the labels that our sausage was in fact gluten-free. Onions, and peppers. Now again, remember, what's very important is that all the ingredients that I'm using right here remain in the gluten-free dedicated area. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of cheese. And we're ready to go to the oven. When cooking pizzas in the perfect world, it's ideal to do it in a separate oven. But I completely understand that in some establishments, you're not going to have that separate oven. So it's okay to do it in your ordinary pizza oven. But remember, make sure you use the foil underneath the pizza to avoid cross-contamination. So here's our gluten-free, dairy-free pizza. Now remember, again, red-handled, dedicated gluten-free pizza slicer. So what we want to do is we want to do it right on the pizza pan. Go right through, rotate it, go right through. And remember what I said. Again, make sure you use a different color or a different shaped plate for your gluten-free customers. And we're just going to place that right on the plate. By following these 3 basic principles, your establishment's going to be able to offer gluten-free cuisine properly and safely. So remember, in order to be good, better, and possibly the best at what you do, this is what you should consider. How about a gluten-free menu? Build that gluten-free menu and ensure that, again, you're using gluten-free ingredients. How about looking at some of your other menu options? How many menu options are already naturally gluten-free? And then consider putting disclaimers on your menu, explaining to your customers how you go about preparing the food in the kitchen and handling it in front of the house. Another good thing to do is to always separate everything in your kitchen. Think of it as an allergy kit. Whether you have utensils that are separate, you might have them as red instead of green. So you know if you grab a red knife, a red utensil, those are your gluten-free utensils. You might have gluten-free fryers, again, designated, marked, written, these are gluten-free fryers. Your microwaves, your toasters. You must make sure that, again, your staff in the back of the house is trained enough to know that only those can be used for gluten-free cuisine. Let's go through the quiz again and see what you have learned. Gluten is a protein found in what 3 common grains? Answer, wheat, barley, and rye. True or false? Fresh-cut French fries are naturally gluten-free. Frying them in the same fryer does not affect the gluten content. This is false. And which of the following ingredients could possibly contain gluten? Maltodextrin, natural flavorings, spices, caramel coloring, none of the above, or all of the above? The answer is all of the above. Udi's and I want to thank you for taking the time to learn these valuable lessons when it comes to offering gluten-free cuisine safely and properly. You're opening yourself up to a whole new clientele, a whole nother world. And you want to know something? It's the right thing to do. And I have faith that you are going to be the best at what you do. Thank you very much.